Welcome back to I Want That Too, the podcast where Disney merch meets Disney history. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely Lauren Hersey.
Hi, Jim. Good to hear from you. What's going on in your world?
Well, I think just like you, I am watching the news coming out of California, and I am gravely concerned for friends and family out there. Also, my heart just goes out to all those folks who've, well, whether they've lost homes or places of employment or that sort of thing. I mean, this is tough to watch, and I'm not going to lie, I'm feeling kind of helpless at this end.
Yeah, I just am feeling terrible. And I know that we're
Mhm.
here to hopefully be, you know, being uplifting
Yeah,
and
I mean,
lighthearted, but
mhm.
know that we are really thinking and sending all the prayers to our
Mhm.
friends in California.
And likewise, we were literally talking just before we came on the air here about what we can do, and we need to chat with Mr. Testa and the other members of the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, and maybe some of the other podcasts out there. Stay tuned. We're going to figure something out here, folks, to help out. So, but for now, again, you're here because you want something light and silly to distract you, and Lauren and I are.
And so we could use the distraction as well. And we
Yeah.
do. I think we put together a great episode today. So, what we're going to be talking about is we got the Festival of Arts coming to Epcot at Walt Disney World. Talk all about that.
Okay.
We have to acknowledge what's going on at Animal Kingdom.
We do.
And Jim has a amazing feature I am so excited about that will be later on in the show, and he is going to be talking about a possible I don't want to give too much away here, but like we could have had a fifth gate associated with Animal Kingdom. Is that a good tease?
Yeah, that works. That works. But
All
before
right.
before we get to any of that, we got to take a moment to thank our sponsor. And this episode of I Want That Too is brought to you by our friends at Be Our Guest Vacation. And I'll tell you, planning your next Disney getaway, let me tell you. These folks are the real deal. The Be Our Guest Vacations is a platinum level earmarked travel agency, which means that Disney itself recognizes them as one of the best in the business. Their team of expert agents offers concierge level service to take the stress out of planning, so all you have to do is show up and enjoy the magic. And they don't just handle Disney either, by the way. Whether it's Universal or cruises or adventures around the globe, they got you covered. And the best part is their service is completely free. Yep, you heard that right. World-class planning, no extra cost. So, if you want to make your next vacation unforgettable, head on over to beourguestvacations.com and let them take care of the details. All right. And speaking of details, Lauren, you have all sorts of details about the 2025 Festival of the Arts, and especially the merch that's going to be offered there, right?
Yes. So, the festival, I believe, is starting this week. It's kicking off. They're going to have lots of great food. They have their Broadway experience.
Mhm.
I mean, they have all kinds of different exhibits and things that people can get into. And it's one of, my favorite events that I don't get to go to
Mhm.
nearly enough. Have you been to the Festival of Arts?
Not yet. I mean, I have followed this from afar since it started back in 2017. In fact, it's kind of interesting because remember they've got food and wine, they've got a flower and garden, and they have holidays around the world. And Disney was always looking at this hole in the schedule. And for a time, for example, Lauren, they actually thought about having like a battling bots competition.
Like AI, like robots?
Well, no, the idea was to invite kids from around the globe who had invented battling robots to bring them to Walt Disney World. They were going to set up a temporary arena in the parking lot. And of course, the families would come down to watch their kids compete. But in the end, it was like, that's a little violent. And given that everything else celebrate food or flowers or the holidays, they were looking for something in that wheelhouse. And Festival of the Arts grew out of that, and started off just weekends and has since expanded. And I know you're especially a fan of the concert portion of this, the one with the Broadway performers, right?
Oh my gosh. Like, yes, I live for a musical. To me, that is, the best part of this experience. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, like we miss the Festival of Arts all the time because
Mm-hmm.
it's actually a lot shorter of a run
It
than
is.
all of their
Mm-hmm.
other festivals.
Mm-hmm.
So we are typically Disney people in March, May, August, and then like the first week of December. So
Mm-hmm.
we're always catching, Flower and Garden, Food and Wine, and the Festival of the Holidays. So this one is a rarity, but last time we were there,
Mm-hmm.
we caught Ashley Brown, we saw Josh Strickland. There were a handful of others,
Mm-hmm.
and we loved it so much. Like, I think it was like Eat to the Beat, so Food and Wine, where
Mm-hmm.
Joey Fatone from NSYNC would be there, and I'd go like I'd go to 2 or 3 of the shows, and
Okay.
that's what I was doing with this too. Like, I
Okay.
just couldn't get enough, and the parks typically aren't as crowded,
Mm-hmm.
so you really get to experience a lot more. This year, Ashley Brown is gonna be back. She plays Mary Poppins on
Yes, yes, she was
Broadway.
the original Mary Poppins in the stage version. Now the New York version, not the one in London. On the other hand, Josh Strickland, he played the title character in Disney's version of Tarzan. Again, the stage version, and I've been lucky enough to interview both of these. They're lovely people who Ashley. I mean this in the kindest possible way. If Disney opened an envelope, Ashley would be there. She loves working for the
Oh,
company, and more to the point, she's an amazing performer, and she does. But what's interesting is she doesn't just do her numbers from Mary Poppins. Well, you describe what the concerts are like when these folks are on stage.
yeah, and I mean they do their typical songs, but I mean they're just so versatile. When we saw the folks from Lion King,
Mm-hmm.
I think they were a little bit more like Lion King specific, but
Mm-hmm.
Ashley had a great personality. She was the very first like act we saw,
Mm-hmm.
and with her, she was with Josh Strickland, and I mean like they just played off of each other's energy. It's just really, really a fun experience. So if you've not been, highly, highly recommend. And then you know Michael James Scott, right? From Aladdin. Did you tell me that before, or did I make it up?
I have interviewed a number of folks from the Broadway production of Aladdin over the years. In fact, James, I always get this name wrong. James Monroe Englehart. Did I get that right?
I don't know.
Okay.
I hear Nancy. I'm like, oh, you're asking me.
Well, no, that's it exactly. Nancy, I always get it wrong, and Nancy corrects me in the distance. But James is actually in New York right now. There's that wonderful new stage musical about Louis Armstrong. In fact, what's kind of sad is that the cast of that show just announced that they're doing some fundraising because of what happened down on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. But again, these are good-hearted, talented people. And by the way, I'm particularly interested that this year, Patty Murin and John Riddle from the Broadway version of Frozen are there. And what's really cool is this is Anna and the prince who reveals himself to be evil later, which means that they're going to get to do live on stage together.
Oh, that's fun.
Love is an open door.
Prince Hans.
Prince Hans. I'm sorry. I'm
Looking
sorry.
for
Okay.
the Southern Isle.
Okay. But yeah, no. That this is an amazing lineup and well worth checking out. But at the same time, you're sitting there. It's January. It's Orlando. It gets a little cool. So what am I looking for merch here?
Yes. It is a merch show, so they're gonna have all their food booths out. I
Mm,
think they probably should just leave them out at all times at this point because we
okay,
just go from festival to festival.
all
But
true.
as far as merch goes, Figment is the star. That's another reason I think I like the Festival of the Arts so much. And like in all of the merch that he is a part of is so festive. So we have. I mean, I feel like I always have to say that there is a Spirit jersey. And, Figment this year
Hmm.
for the 25 festival, there's a lot of imagery of him holding like a painting frame over his face. It's very bold colors again. I mean, I love the dated merch because it was like bragging rights proof you were there.
Hmm.
They have a new Festival of the Arts theme that doesn't. Oh, I did. There is a little Figment. He's underneath, but
Hmm.
it's like a paintbrush, a pencil, a music note. All very very cool. And they have your typical fare. They got your tumblers, you got your T-shirts, your mugs, all of that. So I would check that out,
Hmm.
especially if you're looking to maybe nab something, if a friend, if going to the parks. And there is a lot, and there's still more to come as the festival is just kicking off at the end of this week. So I'm not going to be at the festival, and I have been here watching TV, and I have to ask you if
Hmm.
you saw on Disney Plus that there is a real Bugs Life that is also coming out here in just a couple days. I'm baffled by this.
Well, no, 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 no. Just be clear here. This is season 2 of
Yes.
a Real Bug's Life, and this is one of those interesting kind of Venn diagram things that came about when Disney, as part of its its buying spree, eventually wound up with National Geographic
Yes,
Television.
they did.
And if you are a fan of wildlife photography, the fact that this is done on a micro level, I mean,
I think you just have to say it, Jim, that these are real bugs we're talking
yeah,
about.
no, that's it exactly. But at the same time, they are honestly. I mean, look, I know meerkats are cuddly, and the big mammals and that sort of thing. But these creatures are just as colorful and just as fascinating. And again, sometimes it's just you're watching this thing. It's like, how the hell did they get that shot? Well worth checking out.
But it's weird though.
Hmm.
Like you would say, like I don't know. I'm just connecting dots here. So it is a merch show, and we're talking about Animal Kingdom later in the show. Like I thought that Disney was kind of abandoning ship for the Bugs Life. Like I went to the Disney store
Hmm.
online, and it has the Bugs Life banner, but then it's like the cone of shame from Doug that there's no merch. So, I mean, we know that it's leaving or has left Animal Kingdom and is being replaced by Zootopia. So, like, do you think it's odd or is it just me?
Well, I mean, you have to understand what's interesting about Disney is that it looks like you're absolutely forgotten as a franchise, and then suddenly, for example, you might have seen the announcements just in the past couple of weeks that Disney is prepping a live action version of Tangled now, and that's the interesting thing with A Bug's Life. It is the second ever Pixar film, and let's remember there were now 28 of those. And we're coming up on Toy Story 5. And that was what was kind of interesting when we got It's Tough to Be a Bug, because Michael Eisner could not make up his mind about what was going to go into the basement, so to speak, of the Tree of Life. And there was, for a time, a Lion King theme show where it's young Simba and young Nala hanging out with Mother Nature. And there were a lot of Imagineers like, oh, please let Michael Eisner fall out of love with this this idea. That's a really bad idea. And then at one point, Michael just sort of looked at the tree of life and said, bugs. And it's like, what? He said, bugs live in trees, and we're making that movie with Pixar. Let's do a show with, with the bugs from A Bug's Life. And the interesting thing was the folks at Pixar went back to Mr. Eisner and said, look, nothing personal, but you told us we have to have this movie out in theaters by November of 1998. We don't have time to work on your movie for inside of your tree. And so that's the interesting thing. I want to say the rigs for the characters from the actual A Bug's Life movie, like Flick and Hopper, those came from Pixar, but everything else was done by, I want to say, Rhythm and Hughes, an entirely different animation company that frankly was happy to get to work. But yeah, Could Francis and Heimlich, especially Heimlich. I love me some Heimlich. I wish they would get more attention, but that said, I look around my house and, well, I have Heimlich things, so I'm sure other people do as well.
But they're not going to get them anymore on the Disney store,
so.
I guess. And it's progress, though, right? We don't just stand still. We got to keep moving forward. But it kind of still stings when the things that you like, or, in my case, I had kids that were going to the Stuff to Be a Bug show in the tree and being absolutely terrified. And it was fine as they got older, but I guess we'll see what comes with Zootopia. And the other big news is that DinoLand USA it's closing down bits and pieces every day. And if you've been on any type of social media, you've had to see, people paying tribute to DinoLand.
And I am just fascinated by that, because if you jump back a year or two, the constant complaining about DinoLand USA, for example, when they pulled out Primeval World and did not replace it, people are like, oh, I hate this thing, and it looks like a roadside carnival because it's supposed to be a roadside carnival,
right?
But now that it's closing, it's going away, and I'm so sad, and they ran out of prizes, and it's like, I love me some fickle Disney fans. I absolutely hate this thing until it's going away, and then I love it.
Yeah, well, I think it just gives people something to talk about. And, I mean, it was the last day for the prizes, wasn't it? And they did run out. But I did want to make a point. So one of my most favorite Animal Kingdom memories was when I actually think it was our first DVC Moonlight Madness party that we went to. And it was at Animal Kingdom. They just started doing them. It honestly, Jim, it may have been the very first party they ever did. Okay. And the reason I'm thinking that it was they had far too much ice cream and different things. They were literally taking boxes of Mickey bars and saying, would you like a box to take with you? That kind of, it was just kind of a mess, or people running around everywhere. But, at one of them, because we went to several there, they gave each person 5 free tickets to go over and to play the games in DinoLand USA. And so we're walking out with 8 different plushies. And if you're thinking of a roadside carnival or whatever, those stuffed animals are normally made of napkins, the things that you don't even want to take home. Right. But Disney's quality of their plush for the games was above par, 100%. It was just a really, really good experience, and didn't even mind taking the junk home. Normally I'm like, please, can we leave it here?
I was about to ask, because that's the flip side of that. It's like when you're walking out with 8 new plushy toys that you now have to pack and schlep to the airport, but you got them all home, right?
We drive
That's right.
typically, so we could
That's
fill up
right.
our whole minivan
Okay.
of plushies,
Okay.
and it works
All
out
right.
just fine.
Okay.
But we know that they're closed now. I was just looking at some pictures today. It looks like the Boneyard is still open, but seeing all of the strategically placed planters around DinoLand, it's it is a little sad. I don't know like what Disney is thinking with so many closures over there. Like it was a half a day park at
Mm-hmm.
best,
No.
and now without this, at least a couple of different experiences. And Dinosaur doesn't close, I believe, until the end
Oh
of
no.
2025. So we got some
Mm-hmm.
time there.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a question for you about Chester and Hester's Dino Treasures. That is the gift shop. That's honestly, it was one of my favorite gift shops. Like you would walk through it. Do you know which one I'm talking about? It was
I
attached to the
do. I
bathrooms.
do. Yes. In fact, once again, quoting from Mr. Testa here, that is going to survive largely because you don't want to touch a bathroom. It's so ridiculously expensive to change a bathroom. So that's going to stay there. But what's interesting is if you have ever been over to Anna and Elsa's Sommerhus
Oh yeah.
at Epcot, and understand how that's a meet and greet that then dumps you into a relatively small but intensely focused Frozen themed gift shop. What you can expect is that retail bathroom setup that's there. Well, first of all, I know this because Mr. Chester somehow got a hold of the plans. All right,
Oh.
so we have seen what they're going to do over there, and the Encanto ride is huge and wonderful. But the interesting thing is, as you exit, you come away from the casita. At the bottom of the hill, there will be this bathroom, but also a meet and greet where you can interact with members of the Madrigal family, but in the style of what they do with Anna and Elsa. So there will be a couple of different rooms, so you're never going to wait too long to get to see Mirabel.
Bruno?
Yeah, actually, I will give away just a teeny tiny bit about the Encanto ride. The queue actually takes you into the walls of the casita. You get to go back into where Bruno has been
Bruno's
hiding.
lair? He's
Bruno's
in the tower,
lair.
right?
Well,
Oh,
he's
that's
all,
awesome.
but anyway, but same thing. You get to hang out with the Madrigal family, and then you'll get dumped into the remains of Chester and Hester's Dinorama.
So I'm wondering, like, because it goes like there's a cast member area back there,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of bathrooms,
Mm-hmm.
and then a little bit of I don't know, empty space, and then it's the gift shop. So if
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna utilize kind of in between, maybe
That's
the
it exactly.
bathrooms.
Look for highly themed areas where you can interact with the Madrigal family, but at the same time, just like in the summer hosts of elaborate backdrops and wonderful theatrical lighting, so you're never going to look better than when you're hanging out with Mirabel.
All right.
Yeah, and of course they'll be perfectly happy to sell you the souvenir photos.
I'm hoping that we get a bathroom retheme like the Tangled bathrooms in Magic Kingdom. One time, well, we were all at the park together last year.
Yep.
We were talking to Jim Scholl,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, Jim, like, a burning question, is the Tangled bathrooms, are they the most expensive bathrooms at Disney World? And he actually said no. So then, of course, I'm thinking Epcot, World Show Place, and he said no. He said the most expensive bathroom is actually at Animal Kingdom. It's escaping me which one it is. We're going to have to ask him.
Okay.
But I wonder if maybe we could get like a nice bathroom retheme, because like that's the stuff that matters to me, clearly.
Okay. I now know what I'm asking Mr. Schul the next time we hop on Zoom. So, okay.
Oh, if you want to hear about the most expensive Disney bathrooms, please let us know. Maybe we can get him on one of our shows to talk about it. It's fascinating.
There we go. Okay, so I think that's going to wrap up the news portion of today's show. But when we get back, we're going to talk about a specific aspect of Animal Kingdom that's actually celebrating an anniversary today, in fact.
It is a story that you have probably never heard.
I'm
So
hoping.
when we come back, you hear all about it.
Okay. And we're back. Okay, so Lauren and I are recording this show on January 13th, 2025, but it will, of course, post on the 16th, the Thursday of this week. And what's interesting about that is Wild Africa Trek at Animal Kingdom is celebrating its 14th anniversary this week. And have you ever done this, Lauren? The 3 hour long sort of behind the scenes tour thing of Animal Kingdom?
No. I watched a Disney special on it, so I feel like I know all about it. I'm pretty sure somebody got engaged in the special that I was watching.
Oh,
But 3 hours, that feels like a long time. Have you done this?
it's on my to-do list. It just sadly typically when I'm down there these days, Mr. Tess and I are working, creating content, so we don't get to play, so to speak. And this thing with the rope bridge over the crocodile pool, and then getting to lean out over the hippos and feed them, and not to mention the wonderful safari experience where you get to be up on the promontory there and dine on have a lovely snack as you get to look out on the savannah. Again, it's something I definitely want to get around to, but the reason I bring it up today, especially with the anniversary, is to talk about how we got this separate experience at Disney's Animal Kingdom. And to be honest, it can be traced directly back, Lauren, to Discovery Cove. Now, are you familiar with this at all? Well, I guess if you count the parking lot area, it's a 30-acre parcel adjacent to SeaWorld Orlando.
Jim, I am very familiar. I've not been. So we just started venturing out outside of Disney a couple years ago. And the first place that we went was SeaWorld.
Oh.
But my daughter has been asking every year since she's been 8 years old to go and swim with the dolphins. And so you could do it at Epcot, but for some time that experience was closed. And so I'm like, well, you have to be 14 or
Yep.
whatever it is. And so Discovery Cove was always the plan B if we couldn't do it at Epcot. So very familiar.
Well, I have to say that as a twofer, the fact that Lainey could finally get her swim with the dolphin experience, but on the other hand, this is very rarely do people go to Orlando to be pampered. And the gimmick of, well, when this park first opened, it was just 15 acres and had 3 signature experiences. You could swim with the dolphin, you could snorkel with the stingrays, and you could hand feed exotic birds. But again, the gimmick was it was a reservation only tropical oasis, and only 1,000 people were allowed in a day. It included a freshly prepared lunch and breakfast, snacks and beverages, select alcoholic beverages. If you wanted the good stuff, you had to pay. But yeah, it was $150 to $250 a day per person. But the interesting add-on was, with this experience, you got a 2-week pass to go into SeaWorld Orlando. So, I mean, the bonus was that you got this wonderful pampered experience, and then any time over the rest of your vacation in Orlando, you could, well, let's go to SeaWorld for the day for free. But anyway, it did so well that it's since been expanded. In fact, they added an additional 2.5 acre area called the Grand Reef. This is a 1 million gallon aquarium, home to 10,000 fish and they have this thing called Sea Venture, where effectively you put a helmet on and you walk along the bottom of the ocean, looking up at all the fish. But now at this point, they have 5 signature experiences. They've managed again to up the occupancy, daily occupancy, to just 1,300 people. But it's still this wonderful, private, pampered experience that, by the way, makes money hand over fist. And Disney, of course, noticed. So we jump ahead now to 2007, 2008, and surveys start to go out because the Disney company is thinking about building its equivalent of Discovery Cove, which is called Night Kingdom. And the gimmick of Night Kingdom is it's Animal Kingdom, but only for 1,500 to 2,000 people total. And it's everything is done in small groups. So, for example, you can hand feed hippos, or you can go spelunking into caves filled with bats, or you can put on night vision goggles and get right up close to hyenas and lions and watch their nighttime behaviors. And the idea, Lauren, it was going to be a 5-hour long semi-private experience, again, only for 1,500 to 2,000 guests. And you would show up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock during daylight savings time. And what was kind of cool about this is you were going to be greeted in the main lodge by, well, characters you knew and loved from the Adventurers Club that had, of course, gone away at Pleasure Island. But these characters were now back, and this was their new home. And you're about to have a grand adventure. Head on out. And it was going to feature gourmet dining. And in fact, you would have loved this because Disney Theatrical was going to have a stage show done by the team that did The Lion King that was going to be presented in the main lodge. And I mean, Lauren, this was a go project. Disney had agreed to spend $520 million to build this thing. The plan was to have this park open for October of 2011, so it would have been the big deal for Disney World's 40th anniversary celebration. And to circle back to you having just spent time at the Disney Institute, the really clever thing they were going to do during the day, because again, you've built this amazing facility, but you're only using it for the paying guests from, say, 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon into the evening. During the day, from, say, 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning till 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this was where you held your corporate events.
Oh.
So this would have been, for example, Disney Institute would have staged classes over there, or they would have done team building exercises. You know, hey, everybody, we're going to zip line over the crocodile pit. That's going to make us closer. And also, if you had a convention in town, you know, what they do is you could come over and have a breakfast or a lunch and tour the facility and then go back to, say, the Orange County Convention Center and continue with your convention. But anyway, this was a go project until the financial correction of 2008. Where, face it, the housing market collapsed. Disney put a lot of stuff on hold that fall. In fact, it's worth noting that Night Kingdom was shut down. Also, Hyperion Wharf, which was supposed to be the reimagining of Pleasure Island and Downtown Disney, which eventually came back as Disney Springs. And the other project that got canceled, which, by the way, just got turned back on this past year, was the Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor Coaster. It came back. It only took 16 years, but it eventually came back. On the other hand, Disney had done all of this work on Night Kingdom, and they knew from their surveys and talking with private groups and that sort of thing that people really wanted this experience. But at the same time, given what had just happened, the financial correction, it didn't make any sense for the company to invest $500 million in Florida. But what they decided to do was, well, what if we took certain components of this? I mean, we have Animal Kingdom, and if we kind of look at it sideways and squint, we can see where, for example, we could do not a zip line over the crocodile pit, but we could do, say, a bridge. And our hand feeding of the hippos thing, yeah, we could create an area next to the hippo where we could do that. And that's what they did. And starting in the fall of 2010, suddenly word began to leak out around Walt Disney World that, hey, Disney was going to be launching this brand new experience in January of 2011 called Wild Africa Trek. And now, mind you, not a 5 hour long experience, but a 3 hour long experience.
Which is more palatable, by the way.
Well, true. But what's kind of interesting is when they were looking at doing the 5 hour long experience, it was going to be $250 to $300 per guest. With it just being a 3 hour long experience and sort of looking over their shoulder at what people were now paying to get into Discovery Cove, that's the price point Disney went with. I want to say they started out at $125 to $150, and I want to say since this has been up and running for the past 14 years now, it's crept up to $289, which, by the way, is pretty much on par with what you'd pay to get into Discovery Cove height of the season.
It is indeed.
But again, just for me, I get to talk with folks who were working on the Night Kingdom project, and they were talking about how this project got canceled so late in the game. They had already started buying props for the lodge, decorative items that were going to be in the rooms where the Adventure Club performers were going to be, which, by the way, they couldn't use a lot of the stuff from the original Adventures Club because in the closing weeks of the club, a lot of Disney fans helped themselves to the things that were on the walls, taking home some souvenirs. But yeah, so we only got Wild Africa Trek at Animal Kingdom because Night Kingdom didn't go forward. And for me, that's the interesting part about every so often you will hear people ask, well, they've got 4 theme parks in Florida. Why don't they have 5? And it's like, well, this was developed. The hard reality is when they opened Animal Kingdom back in 1998, they found out the hard way that attendance actually dropped at both the studios and Epcot, that the fourth park had cannibalized attendance at the lesser parks. The Magic Kingdom numbers stayed steady, but the notion was, wow, if we open a 5th park, that will probably happen. So what they decided to do was borrow the Discovery Cove template and create a park that only would have 1,500 to 2,000 guests a day. And more to the point, this was our higher end customers looking for that high touch, very exclusive premium experience. And in a weird sort of way, they managed to keep it alive with Wild Africa Trek.
Hey, that is really, really interesting. And I had no idea. I feel like I learn something new every week on this show. Like, we'll have kind of a general idea of things that we want to share, things that we want to talk about. And Jim just pulls these doozies of stories. Like, so thank you for that. But I think on that note, what do you say? I think it's time to close up shop for today.
I can definitely get behind that idea. And by the way, folks, don't forget that if you've got questions or suggestions for future episodes of I Want That Too, Lauren and I always love to hear from you. So feel free to reach out to us via social media or email us. You can get me at jim@jimhillmedia.com, and Lauren is available at lauren@laurenhersey.com.
Yes, and if you want to stay up to date with everything happening across the Jim Hill Media Network, just make sure you're following along on social media, Facebook, Instagram, X. You know, that's where we're posting all the updates to make sure you don't miss a thing. And if you don't mind, we would love if you'd leave us a review. It really helps to support the show, and it means a lot to us. So with that being said, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time on I Want That Too.